Hello and welcome to More Time in the Kitchen. So we're 4 episodes in now, and I thought it was about time that I show you a traditional Scottish recipe. And I thought about maybe doing something with haggis, but I'd have to go up to the Highlands and catch one, and my haggis catching net's broken. So I thought I'd maybe put that to one side for now and maybe do it on a special occasion, like Burns Night, something like that. So for today, I'm going to be showing you how to make Tattie Scones, or if you didn't know how to speak Scottish, that's potato scones. But I will be telling you a few Scottish words and phrases as we go along. So let's get kicking. So a Tattie scone is an essential part of a good Scottish breakfast. Now, a Scottish breakfast is similar to an English breakfast, but better, obviously. So what you'd get in a Scottish breakfast that you might not get in an English breakfast would be Tattie scones, as I said. You'd get a Lorne sausage, or a square sausage as most folk call it. You might get some haggis, and you would get a white pudding as well as your black pudding, and maybe some fruit pudding as well. And those are sweet, those last two, so I always leave them to the end, and it means I've got a little sweet treat at the end, so those are my favourite part of it. Right, so we're going to start by filling a pot full of water. And you're just going to heat it, and this is just so that we can boil the potatoes. So high heat. So we've got 3 medium potatoes here, that will be just over 300 grams, and we're going to peel and chop them. I'm going to give you your first Scottish word, so if you're ready, turn to page 18 in your workbook. Is that even relevant anymore? I feel like most kids will just learn on iPads now. Anyway, let's get peeling. Right, so we'll start off easy with the word wee, which means small. I think most people know that one. I've heard English and American people using it, like in conversation anyway. Title of my blog as well, Wee Bit More. So wee means little or small. So you'd say like a wee bit more. The second word is I, as in yes. You might get confused wondering, what do we then say for I as in myself? And basically if we say I as in yes, then I as in myself changes to a. So you'll be like, I ken. And there's the third word, ken. Ken means know, as in I know, I understand. So, do you ken how to speak Scottish? You can say, I ken. Another good word is blether, to have a blether. So it means to have a chat, to talk. As in, we were having a wee blether the other day. She was blethering away. And if someone's blethering a wee bit too much, you can tell them to had their wisht, which basically means shut up. And if they're talking a load of nonsense, you can tell them, away and bile your heat, which it basically means like, go away, like, you're talking rubbish, or something along those lines. It just means like, go away with you, that sort of thing. So we want the potatoes just cut into chunks, just so that they'll cook a little bit faster. It's cut already. So chunks about that size. That's the water just boiling now, so we're going to put in the potatoes and we're going to leave them to boil for 15 minutes. So the potatoes are done boiling, I've drained them and we're just going to mash them now. So you want to add a large knob of butter, that's about 30 grams roughly, and we're going to give it a mash. Another favourite Scottish word of mine is hen. So hen is like a term of endearment, so it's similar to like dear or hun. So instead of saying like, hey hun, you'd say, alright hen, how are you doing? That sort of thing. But you'd only be called hen if you were a lassie. A lassie is a girl. The next thing we're going to do is combine all the other ingredients with the mashed potato. You want to wait for the mashed potato to cool down, mainly for the purpose of not burning your hand later when you roll out the dough. So I'm going to transfer it all to this glass bowl. I'm going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm going to add a bit of salt and pepper for seasoning. Pepper and salt. Just going to mix that now. And then I'm going to add 75 grams of flour, which should be enough to make a stiff dough. It's about 3/4 of a cup. You don't need to sieve it or anything. So just give it a mix in and it should start to form a dough. Okay, so that seems to be coming together nicely. So you can generally tell that you've got the right amount of flour if the dough sticks to itself but not your fingers. So it is sticking to my thumb a little bit there, so I'm just going to add a little bit more flour. Okay, so second attempt. Yeah, it's definitely coming together better now, so it's forming like a little ball. Okay, so I'm just going to flour my surface. So on a clean and dry surface you want to get some flour, sprinkle it over your work surface, sprinkle some in your hands, and you also want to sprinkle some on your rolling pin as well. Okay, so the dough's not going to stick to anything. And then I'm just going to sort of bring the dough together in the bowl, because it might still be a little bit broken up. And I'm going to half it. So we've got 2 balls of dough. So this will make about 4 tattie scones and a bit extra. With a bit extra you could just make an ugly one. So we're just gradually rolling it out into a circle. Keep turning it over. I'm going to keep turning it over because you don't want it to stick to the surface. The last Scottish word I'm going to teach you is actually the two last Scottish words I'm going to teach you are bairn and Wayne. So bairn means baby and Wayne means child. So when me and my sister were growing up, we would have been called the Waynes. So that's about the right size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a dessert plate and just cut round the outside. So I've got a small plate and I'm going to put that in the middle of the dough. So yeah, we've got the right size there. So with this size of plate, I like my Tattie Scones to be quite thin and crispy. If you like yours a bit thicker, then use a smaller plate. So I've put a little bit of flour around the outside of the knife as well, just to help it not stick to the dough when it cuts through. Just cut round, take the excess away. You can use that to make your ugly one. We're going to cut it into quarters. Don't press too hard or you're going to cut your work surface. Okay, so we've got our quarters there, and the last thing we do before we cook it is we're going to stab it a few times with a fork to make some air holes. And you want to make the air holes because if not, when you go to cook it, it'll get some air bubbles in it and they'll come out a bit funny looking. They'll still be fine to eat, but they won't look as nice. Stop, 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 stop. Stop, 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 stop. Now to cook the potato scones, we're going to heat a little bit of butter in a pan. And I do mean a little bit of butter because you only want a very light covering of the pan. You can either use butter or oil. My favourite way to do it is if you have bacon, if you're cooking bacon with the breakfast, to fry them in the same pan as the bacon, either at the same time or afterwards. And they sort of soak up that really smoky flavour from the bacon. It tastes so good. I'm just going to put 4 of the potato scones in at a time. Just squeeze that one in. Go. So they should take 4 minutes on one side and 3 minutes on the other side. You might just want to move them about in the pan a little bit, just to make sure that all the sides get cooked evenly. So after 4 minutes, you're going to check that it's cooked underneath, and you should have this nice sort of orangey brown colour underneath. That's come from the butter. So before you take them off the heat, just make sure that they're done on the other side. That looks absolutely perfect. So you're looking for that sort of brown mottled colour underneath. So let's move them onto a plate. There you go, that's the colour you're looking for on the other side. There, isn't that bonny? Bonny means pretty, by the way. Okay, so there's the finished result. I've just got them on a plate here. I'm not going to eat them all, by the way. So we'd usually have these, like I say, in a Scottish breakfast, but honestly, I'm happy to just eat one by itself. It tastes so good. I'm going to take a bite. I don't quite know how just potato, flour, and some seasoning can taste so good, but they taste so good. If you wanted to say it in Scottish, you'd say, aye, these are magic, so they are. So we've barely scratched the surface in terms of Scottish traditional food and Scottish words and phrases. So I might do something similar in another episode in the future. I could do Scottish insults, that might be fun. But if you'd like to see something like that in the future, then let me know in the comments, give us a like and subscribe. But gee, bye for now. Have boiled and I've drained them, and we're just